So, markets started the week on a bit of a roller coaster, but in the end they finished strong. Hey everyone, it's Tuesday morning, April 14th, and welcome back to Capital Markets Quickie. I'm your host, Endrit Sella, here to break down yesterday's market action in just 2 minutes. Quick note before we dive in. Today's episode is brought to you by AMF Capital Asset Management Frankfurt. Learn more about our funds and strategies at amf-capital.de. Alright, let's get started. U.S. stocks staged a pretty solid comeback on Monday, closing near their session highs, as investors got increasingly optimistic about a potential deal between the U.S. and Iran. And that's interesting, right? Because at the same time, tensions were actually still pretty high. President Donald Trump warned that the U.S. could destroy ships interfering with a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, so geopolitics is still very much in play here. But markets chose to focus on the positive. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 0.6%. While the Standard & Poor's 500 rose by nearly 1% after recovering from earlier losses. And the Nasdaq Composite led the way, up 1.2%, driven by a strong rebound in software stocks, actually the biggest one-day jump in that space in almost a year. Now, the turnaround really picked up after signals that Iran had reached out to the US to work towards some kind of agreement. And that was enough to shift sentiment pretty quickly. At the same time, the situation in the Strait of Hormuz remains tense. The U.S. is moving forward with plans to block maritime traffic, while Iran warned it could target ports across the Persian Gulf if its own infrastructure is threatened. So, definitely something markets will keep a close eye on. On the commodity side, oil prices pulled back a bit. Brent crude traded just below $100 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate hovered slightly under that level as well, so still elevated, but not spiraling higher for now. And then, looking at earnings, Goldman Sachs kicked off the U.S. bank reporting season with strong profits. Interestingly, though, the stock actually fell by almost 2%. And now, all eyes are on the rest of the big banks this week, including Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, JP Chase, and Morgan Stanley. So, yeah, a mix of geopolitics, earnings, and shifting sentiment. Pretty classic market setup. Alright, that's it for today's Capital Markets Quickie. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe and stay in the loop. And if you want more insights, just add me on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect. See you tomorrow morning.